Chairman Cicilline, Ranking Member Buck, and members of the subcommittee and the full committee. Thank you for the opportunity to give this testimony. I appear before you today as someone who has devoted her career to figuring out how to broaden economic opportunity in this country. That pursuit has led me many places: the Federal Trade Commission, a corporate law firm, and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And I currently serve as the senior advisor at the American Economic Liberties Project, an antitrust advocacy organization which does not accept any money from corporations. What these experiences have shown is that until we address corporate power at its core, the rest of us are just playing for economic scraps. And currently, there is no greater power that threatens our livelihoods and civil liberties than the big tech platforms, namely Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Apple. That fact is best put by none other than Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg. Quote, "In a lot of ways, Facebook is more like a government than a traditional company. We have this large community of people, and more than other technology companies, we're really setting policies." As the subcommittee's extraordinary 16th-month investigation and report revealed last year, big tech corporations have and abuse their extreme market power. It's impossible to include an exhaustive list of the harms this dominance causes because they are so large and so intertwined with much of our economic activity. Collectively, these firms control the financial lives of many American small business owners and workers. They enable the rampant spread of misinformation, which has compromised our elections and the safety of our schools, communities, and even members of Congress. And they have almost entirely destroyed a core American institution, a free and vibrant press in the form of local newspapers. And unlike what they would have us believe, the dominant tech firms did not achieve this market power through only superior business acumen. Rather, they exploited gaps in public policy, including the weakening of merger law and decades of lax monopolization enforcement, to build dominance by aggressively acquiring other businesses and employing anti-competitive tactics to squash competitors. This unquestionable dominance led the subcommittee to launch the most thorough investigation into monopoly power in 50 years, ultimately resulting in recommendations that make clear a traditional regulated competition approach, including structural separations, is necessary to rein in these corporations and restore freedom in the digital markets. The United States has a tradition dating back to the 1800s with the railroads of using a regulated competition approach to limit corporate power. And over the course of the 20th century, policymakers used laws, regulations, and antitrust suits to break up banks, television networks, and electric utilities. The result was the most robust economy in global history, with high wages, high technology, and high business formation. As the research of many economists has shown, there are several reasons to apply such an approach to the dominant big tech platforms. First, structural problems demand structural solutions. Conflicts of interest are baked into the platform's business models. The only way to address these conflicts is to limit their operation in certain markets. Second, regulatory tools alone cannot address the problem of entrenched market power and can sometimes make it worse. The dominant tech platforms know they offer critical infrastructure and can effectively ignore regulation, and we've seen this in the past. Finally, structural separations are also easier to administer. The platforms and their business practices change rapidly. Structural remedies offer an ex-ante way to address the root cause of a platform's dominance without costly and ultimately ineffective supervisory efforts. Some claim that breakups are unduly burdensome, but the evidence doesn't support that. In fact, there's reason to believe that breakups might be easier to accomplish with a tech platform than some other commodity-based industries. And let's keep in mind that corporations commonly initiate self-imposed breakups, otherwise known as restructurings, all the time. Digital platforms similarly will adjust with changed business models after structural separations. But that alone will not entirely tame the problem of dominance. Regulation will be needed. Dominant firms should have to give market players equal access to their platforms, and we must make changes to antitrust law to restore mid-20th century monopolization and anti-merger statutes. Breaking up firms is relatively useless if they can simply recombine. Facebook is taking out full-page ads in the New York Times inviting regulation because its executives know that the true threat to their business model is a breakup. When the Australian government moved forward with a regulation forcing them to compensate news outlets for their content, far from welcoming the measure with open arms, Facebook announced it would ban all news. They are retaliating to scare Australia and other governmental bodies like this Congress from imposing even more aggressive remedies. Only structural separation can limit their power to enable effective regulation. I encourage the subcommittee to continue reasserting your congressional authority and swiftly implement the report's recommendations. Under your leadership, Congress can restore the government's long legacy of standing up to corporate power that threatens our American way of life. It's time to break them up. Thank you.